Hello everyone, I'm James Milan. Welcome to this episode of Talk of the Town. I am here today joined by Anna Pancoast, Anna Pancoast, and also with by Susan Lamont. Both are climate activists. Both work with Extinction Rebellion, which is an organization born in the United Kingdom, but with actions and activities going on all over the globe. We want to find out more about Extinction Rebellion. We first did find out about them recently when we spoke to Anna in front of a mural that you can all see just to the side of the Walgreens parking lot in East Arlington. And it's a fabulous mural. We want to talk more about that as well from the artistic side, as well as from the XR, or Extinction Rebellion side. But we want to start by finding out more about Extinction Rebellion itself. Anna was kind enough to bring Susan along. Susan is a veteran of Extinction Rebellion in this area. So, Susan, if I can just throw it first to you to give us a little bit of grounding in the organization, its history, what the principles are that you're acting on, et cetera.
Well, Extinction Rebellion was founded in England in the fall of 2018 and quickly spread around the world. Our chapter, XR Boston, was formed in 2019, in January, February, around then. And I joined in August, after I had been at a standout at Alewife in Arlington that I learned about from Sustainable Arlington, and we had it was every Friday as part of the Fridays for Future, which was started by Greta Thunberg, who's a well-known activist, a young woman, and we would go out there every Friday, and it would sometimes be just Gina Sonder and myself, who's another Arlington resident, and we would, or it would be like 15 people, but consistently one of the XR members kept coming down, and by the end of the summer, I was a member of XR, and so was Gina.
Mm-hmm. You know, as you're referencing it as XR, and I did myself already, I realized that part of why that happens a lot, I would think, is that Extinction Rebellion is quite a mouthful, and also has to have been a deliberately chosen alternative as a name. So, Anna, I just want to ask you to share your own thoughts on. I don't expect that you were in the room when those decisions were made or something like that, but nonetheless, you would have thought about this yourself and also know how people feel about it within the organization. Can you tell us what is the deal with Extinction Rebellion as a title?
Well, I think there are two things. First of all, extinction speaks to the severity of what we're facing with the climate and ecological crisis. And so it's really trying to bring us back to this existential nature of, we need to protect our home and planet so that we can continue to thrive and survive here. And then rebellion speaks to the fact that, we've tried to enact environmental change through, I would say, accepted channels for a really long time through the political system, and that hasn't worked. And so what Extinction Rebellion is suggesting is that we need to do something else. We need to use nonviolent civil disobedience and direct action to try to get more, basically movement, more action on addressing the climate crisis and getting governments involved, changing culture, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me. It actually, I think, ties into a lot of what might be called liberal or progressive values and actions, where a lot of the time we also believe in the institution, people believe in the institutions that exist, and in working through those institutions a lot of the time, and find that it is not nearly effective enough or doesn't happen in maybe ever or in a timely enough fashion. So interesting as well that that Extinction Rebellion would recognize that there's this need to go beyond that. So if you can tell us, Susan, just about, you said the XR chapter here started back in 2019. What kinds of things does XR get up to, in the Boston area in general, around the globe? What are the kinds of actions or activities that you are involved with?
Well, it's in the UK, it's much larger than we are in Boston, where they can mobilize like tens of thousands of people, and we can mobilize maybe 50. So we look at having strategically making sure it matters. And so recently we blocked the State House entrances when there was a lack of a climate bill for 3 separate days. And I feel that did put a lot of pressure on the legislature for getting it done, and which they have in November. But and so that kind of thing, we once put a banner over the Citgo sign in Kenmore Square that said "Climate Justice Now." We blocked Governor Baker's driveway with a pink boat. And when he decided to not run again for office, people would ask me, "Do you think it was the boat?"
Was there a significance to a pink boat?
Yes, it's part of the Extinction Rebellion's symbolism that they were using a boat in Britain. So many chapters have pink boats. We no longer have our pink boat because it was taken away during that action, and we have been unable to retrieve it.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, you guys have your MO, and somebody's going to know, Governor Baker in this situation, and many others, that Extinction Rebellion is behind that kind of action, simply because, Anna, you had mentioned when we were looking at the mural, and I do again want to talk about that a little more in a little more depth a little later on in this conversation. But I do remember you mentioning that you were really pleased with how many of the symbols of the kind of tropes and images that are associated with Extinction Rebellion were also presented in the mural, or present in the mural. And I don't remember whether a pink boat was in there or not, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised if it's hidden in there somewhere.
No, there's no pink boat in the mural, but art has been a really important part of Extinction Rebellion since the beginning. It's what sort of creates this unified look and makes it possible for different Extinction Rebellion chapters to start up all over the world and have still that sort of unified set of demands and principles by which they act, and the sort of symbols and flags and banners and such that they use. So yeah, it brings a cohesiveness to what is otherwise a completely non-hierarchical organization. The art sort of brings it together, and that is what makes the mural, for people who know, the symbols of XR, they would perhaps be able to recognize, especially the hourglass and the extinction symbol that's around it.
Yeah, and you were speaking, Susan, about the fact that the things that take place, the blocking of the entrance to the State House, or the Citgo sign, that kind of thing. Those are for want of a better term, political actions, right? That are being taken, but there is always this intersection and confluence with this art that you have been citing. Just the fact that there is that in almost everything that you do, it is this confluence of both of those things. You're trying to get the message across very, very clearly, but you're also doing it through artistic means. And was that something that, I know you're an artist already, and are you an artist as well?
Vaguely.
So you were drawn maybe more to the climate activism piece of Extinction Rebellion?
I like that it operates outside of this system, because the legislature, they just put through incremental change, and that would have been great in the 90s, but now that we're so close, the carbon levels are so high in the atmosphere, are very dangerous, as you see from what the weather and the disasters that are happening.
Sure.
It's just we really need to get it. We really need to reduce those levels, and the legislature, the bill that just passed, is not going to do that in a timely fashion. So it's Extinction Rebellion's message is to act now. But I should add about the art, what I've always been fascinated with is that someone came up with this whole strategies, all these symbols, explicit ways of how to use it. There's even a application online that lets you make your own placards for our calendar. And it looks just like it should, like Extinction Rebellion should, and that they put it together so quickly, and that you just can get these ideas online. And we've found cookbooks for all sorts of wonderful things, like we have wind art, so which is just beautiful. And that all comes from either the original founders and then people adding on around the world.
Yeah, but clearly, like, some marketing genius or whatever is also at work here in terms of, again, the tie-in between being able to just look at something and know that that is Extinction Rebellion. You don't have to be, have a bright sign on it, et cetera. But I just want to ask you the same thing that I was just asking Susan about how much of what draws you to this is coming from your art side. I know that takes nothing away from your climate activist side, but.
I actually got involved with Extinction Rebellion originally because I was frustrated by the slow progress of all the other groups I knew about. And Extinction Rebellion, more than anything, gave me hope because they were actually speaking to the severity of the situation and not trying to hide that. And it seemed like what they were doing actually sort of was warranted. And even though I didn't feel ready at the time to risk arrest, I was very inspired. And then I would say that I got involved through the art side because that was a skill that I could offer. But since then, they offer wonderful trainings in how to talk to the media, for instance, how to be a peacekeeper. And I've taken a bunch of them and they've been very helpful. And so I think there's also, I've been expanding the different roles that I can play within XR Boston too, which feels really good.
Well, I'm looking at the two of you, and I'm just thinking rebel and rabble-rouser, clearly. You just present that to the world. No, to be serious for a sec, I assume that you guys, like I, and generally, rule followers and et cetera, in much of our lives, or, have codes of ethics for ourselves, et cetera. Was any of that challenged at all by getting involved with Extinction Rebellion, making yourself vulnerable to arrest, doing things that are going to piss some people off, kind of things? How does that work for each of you personally?
Well, one of the, there's a set of, sort of tenets of Extinction Rebellion, and one is getting out of your comfort zone. And so I find that I have to do that consistently, and getting out of your comfort zone and really bucking the system, and going out and talking to the press, because I have served as spokesperson for a number of times, and it's always hard. And there was one time where it had leaked out that we were going to block traffic, and I got off at South Station, and there was just police cars and police vehicles for as far as the eye could see, and that was just like. But I still, you still had to do it. Had to step forward and say, this is the climate crisis needs to be dealt with.
So, in that instance that you were just citing, are you saying that you arrived, you saw that they had been already informed about what was going to happen, that they were going to clamp down on it, and then you still needed to
I still went
just
forward
put
and
yourself...
did it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how about,
I have two little kids, and I sort of compare how they will feel about my actions compared to my parents, for instance, who will not be alive during the worst of it. And so I feel like that's like my moral barometer right now, is what will they be happy that I did in 10, 20, 30 years, hopefully longer.
And how much do you mentioned that they're young, how much do they understand about what you are doing?
We talk about it quite frequently. They're 5 and 9 years old. And both of them have been to some of our Extinction Rebellion events. We we usually march in the honk parade in Somerville. They love that. And then my 9-year-old will also sometimes come with me to art builds. So one of the things that I really love about XR is that there are places where basically everyone can get involved. You don't need to be willing to risk arrest. You can help make art. You can participate in regenerative culture events. You can talk to the media.
What are regenerative culture events?
Grief Circle we have because it's very sad that the planet is dying, basically. So we have grief circles. We're going to, we're having we have actually an Arlington chapter of Extinction Rebellion, and we're having a free cycle event, which will unfortunately be over after this broadcast at the Calvary Church.
Well, go ahead and mention it anyway. You never know.
Yes,
Maybe we'll
yes,
get this out fast.
Yeah, and and then we're going to, and then we have movie screenings, which I think we have some coming up at the Capitol Theater, and so
that you'll
so
be
it's all part
that
of
Extinction Rebellion
yes,
will be sponsoring, basically.
Yes, actually, our ex-Arlington chapter, I think, is specifically sponsoring these things. So, yeah.
We also have just monthly general meetings where folks get together and usually share a meal and talk about, what's going on in the group. So I feel like there's a lot. There's sort of this whole cultural structure to support being an activist. And also when we do actions, we sort of go in this cycle of planning, executing, and then sort of recovering from and looking at how they went. And so I feel like it's really structured to avoid burnout, because even though this is sort of it feels like an emergency, it's not going to be over next year, right? So we have to be able to take care of ourselves and each other for the long haul.
Right. So these regenerative actions that you were talking about is really regenerating that spirit, the spirit and the fire that keeps you moving forward with this.
And part of maintaining our community, because we're really a community of people rather than, so because it's hard to find people to just talk about the climate crisis, so it's very comforting to have other people who understand the, severity of the problem and want to get involved. So, so we do, we have a lot of close friendships with other people in the group, and that's very nice. So we do, are in touch with each other, and these events allow us to, reinforce those ties.
Yeah, I wondered if you could speak to that actually a little bit more, because I know that the events themselves will bring you together with other people. And you were mentioning that there are also these monthly meetings. But yeah, I would think that sense of solidarity, of mutual support, of people who understand your perspective and also what you're willing to do and share that also makes for really personal experiences for both of you within this world of climate activism.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely true.
Okay, so let's talk more specifically about how the mural that people can find in East Arlington came about. Now, you discussed this on the small news piece that we did, but just remind us again of what the provenance of that very striking mural is.
Absolutely. So this mural was a long time in the making, and it's on the back of a garage of Anne of True Story Theater's house. And so it was originally designed by Kevin Shanahan, who is one of the members of our XR Art Working Group. And then we sort of came together as a working group to organize actually carrying it out. And we ended up using a technique called pouncing, where you basically create large stencils and get a design exactly onto the wall, and outlined all the different shapes. And that basically meant we could paint by numbers. So we could have community members come, and we gave them a little bit of paint, and we said, everywhere where you see little bits of blue, paint blue. And
wow,
so
even I could have done that.
I was actually very, very good at that, and I'm not really a good artist.
Believe me, I would need the number, I would need the line.
Yeah, we're great.
So over the course of the summer, we had 4 different community paint days where we advertised in the community and said, come help us paint this mural, all at ground level. And we had at least one person who was just walking by during one of our community paint days, and they were like, can I join? Of course. So it was hopefully an opportunity for folks to learn about XR Boston, to be in community with other people who might care about the climate crisis and doing something about it, and and be creative with each other.
And what is involved, if people are listening in, is it as simple as, I don't know, do you look up XR Arlington on the, is there a website? How do people join? And then what is entailed? Once you're part of things, what do you expect of yourselves, and what do you expect of each other?
So there's a website, xrboston.org, and one of the tabs has events, and we have lots of events all over the Boston area, a lot of them in Arlington. So that's one way that I suggest folks sort of connect. We also have a weekly newsletter that goes out with events.
Weekly?
And
Wow.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, great article.
Yeah.
There's always a great article in it. And then
So that's another way that people can get sort of reminded of what's happening. We have, I think, monthly new member orientations, and as part of that, if you have any interests, like you're interested in art, or you live in Arlington or somewhere else, you can always, share that, and you can be put in touch with different, say, affinity groups that are involved in whatever you're interested in. So, and then of course, folks just come to events, having met no one before or been to none of them before, and that's also really wonderful. I think one of the things I most enjoy is that XR is just so welcoming, and so everyone I've ever met, you go to a new type of event and they're like, yay, we're so glad you're here. So I think it is really easy actually to connect just by showing up.
It is interesting. I do know, a few members of XR Boston, just in my personal life, knowing them, knowing that they're really, really nice people. And I'm sure the two of you are as well, and that is really strongly the impression that I have. And so it is an interesting combination to have people who are so welcoming, who are so glad that you are there at the event to help, but also who are willing to just poke and poke and poke at the beast, which is the establishment that doesn't move around these things. It's just an interesting thing to do, to do it nicely. But to do it nonetheless, and to do it kind of in the face of the kind of scene that you were describing that you arrived at South Station, which is fear or nervousness ever there for you guys?
Yeah, this morning. It's just, you're going on television and talking about XR, and it's just like, it's
so
like,
this very thing.
Yeah, very
could be,
thing,
I see. Well, we just love here at ACMi, we just love it when our guests come here in fear.
No, well, we're just taking it seriously. Yeah.
No, absolutely. So I risked arrest for the first time this fall during our week of rebellion, and I was one of the people who sort of locked themselves to the State House gates. And it was very nerve-wracking, but I was doing it with people that I've known, that I trust. I didn't actually know some of them. Some of them I now know because of this. And let me tell you, that's a wonderful way to get to know new people.
Well,
but yeah, so, there are moments of nervousness, but I feel very strongly held within the community of XR. I mean, everything about the way we organize our actions is thinking about sort of holding everyone and supporting everyone. So I think I wouldn't have expected myself to feel so not nervous as I did, right? It was still nerve-wracking, but it could have been so much more scary. Yeah.
And do you also have a sense of what will happen if you are arrested? Because that is something that people, basically at your meetings and stuff like that, people will prepare and orient newer folks to what they can expect. Is that right?
Yeah, we have a nonviolent direct action training that everyone is encouraged to, I think, has to take before they can risk arrest with XR, but we have a whole system for taking care of activists after they're arrested and making sure they have legal support. So it's all sort of taken care of.
And when you say that, that people have to do that course if they're going to, if there's a real chance that they're going to be arrested, is there a distinction in the actions that you go between those who are in that position and those who are simply there in support of the action generally, but not exposing themselves to that?
Absolutely, and I would say there's actually also a large need for folks who can't risk arrest to be there and support actions. So, I mean, there really is a place for everybody, regardless of their personal ability to be arrested.
Great. Okay, well, I have been enlightened considerably myself, which I really appreciate, and hope that I share that with the rest of the audience. I expect that I do. But I did want to invite you guys to, if there's something that we haven't covered that you, or even to repeat something important that you would like to before the cameras stop rolling.
Well, I guess for Arlington folks, we have a art build in Arlington every month, the last Saturday of the month, at Mystic Open Studio from 10 to noon. And I really encourage anyone who's curious, even if you don't want to make art, come talk. Or come and stay and make art. It would be great. So, yeah.
Okay, so you want to just announce that again? That's Mystic Open Studio, Saturday?
Last Saturday of the month. From 10 a.m. to noon.
10 to noon. All right, great.
Yeah, there's one coming. Oh, well, that's right. We'll see when this airs. There's one coming right up. But in December, there will be one as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. And anything that you wanted to add, Susan?
Yes, I hope people will have an interest in joining us and fighting the climate crisis.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you very much to both of you. Really appreciate your being here, and I agree with you. I hope that people will join. So I've been speaking with Susan Lamont and with Anna Pancoast from Extinction Rebellion, ex-Arlington, I like that, and about Extinction Rebellion and all that they do. So with appreciation for these guys' time and with yours, appreciation for yours as well. I'm James Milan. This is Talk of the Town. Thanks a lot for joining us.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.